All right, guys, welcome to the Capture Scratch podcast, where we explore the world of film, television, and the creative process. I'm Mike, and I'm here with Joey, my co-host here, and we are diving in today to less is more. What are the things on set that don't get a lot of love, but they're super helpful when they're there on set? How you doing today, Joey?
Doing pretty great. I mean, we're in the middle of a little bit of a lull at work for me right now, so things are getting a little more chill. And so I take those moments in stride because fall and spring for us are just freaking nuts.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm actually excited to talk a little bit about the subject today about less is more, because I feel like I'm in a world of overcomplication every single day with working events and working with so many other people. But I love what I do. But during this downtime, I really do like to try to really mess around a bit and just like take a look at some new gear, hopefully not buy too many new gear, but also just like experiment with other stuff. So I've just been messing with my camera recently. I've gotten some new audio equipment. Nice. I know you know that I've been filming a little bit. Recently filmed Test of Strength, and just messing with my lighting overall, trying to make everything feel a little bit more atmospheric. I know you were commenting earlier before we started rolling, but I hazed out the room a little bit. I'm not sure if you could still see it.
I was gonna say we could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, so just trying to work on my technique and just trying to get the optimum lighting like you have, Mike. I not everyone could be as great as you.
I honestly don't know how I fell into this lighting situation. It was literally like, oh, I'll just put a light up there, bounce it off the wall. There's my key light, and then those are the B7Cs by Aperture in that lamp and in that lamp. I have two of them, so love that, because those lights are. Because I don't know if you shot with practicals, that have just normal bulbs. Sometimes it has like if you're not shutter synced, it like you get the lines. And that sort of thing, it was some certain frequency of bulbs. So, and then
LEDs are everywhere, man. They're screwing with us.
Exactly. So you'd have to do the synchro scan and for the shutter speed, do all that stuff. But like these are great because they don't have that, and you could just be like, I want it to look like a normal practical, which they do, and they're really really cool. And honestly, now all I have to do with my background is I could just keep accumulating random things, and I keep putting stuff in the background. But that's a little set dressing there and that sort of stuff. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the haze. Tell me about your thoughts on haze. And honestly, like I always get a little nervous about using haze because of the fact that it could set off the fire alarm. You haven't really wanted to try and use that kind of thing. So
yeah, so I don't usually like to use the haze in any commercial places. If there's sprinklers, I'm too afraid to use it.
Dude, I agree. I even wanted to test it here, like in my basement studio area, but I do obviously have a fire alarm. I don't want to set that off. So I don't know, maybe people in the comments could suggest a method that they use for haze, like to get a little bit in there without getting too much up into the ceiling. I don't know if do you kind of cover the fire alarm, or do you take the battery out of it or something? I don't know.
I feel like, so my main worry is just for sprinkler related things, because thinking about all the damage that could do to the place and how much money that could be costing to you.
Oh my God.
I do think you could probably get away with you could definitely just take the battery out of a typical one.
Right.
But mine, I've definitely burned enough stuff in this house to know how much smoke it actually takes to make it, because it's a really small apartment. So I've definitely made my alarm go off quite a bit. But
yeah, the
haze doesn't seem to bother it. I'd use it for Cup of Joe. Watch, it's gonna go off mid pod.
Today will be
but right, the one time it goes off. But yeah, it doesn't affect that one. But yeah, no way do I like to, because I filmed a lot for She Cars Murder in some commercial places, and we were looking at doing it, and it's just let's not even bother. But I really do think haze is one of those things that just really completely changes the look of your lighting. And I mean, look at my interviews, when you have people with backed up windows behind them behind their seating, and how much the difference the haze really makes in the atmosphere versus not having it. It's night and day.
It really is. It's completely, like you said, it changes the way the light hits the air and the way it hits the subject and all that. So I think that it's definitely something that should be accessible to us, and also we're inundated with it in social media. I feel like it's always oh yeah, just use a haze fog machine and you got this look, right? Or a haze machine and you got this look. But it's Yeah, and I have one of those like nice portable ones and everything, and I really want to test it out. And I always get like a little nervous about, setting off the alarm. But I
Yeah.
think I'll just have to get over that, or like we were talking about, possibly even like covering it, or I don't know.
Let somebody else use it. Let somebody else use it in a situation, and then just hands off.
Right.
It's too risky.
It is. It feels
but
like it. Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely do think, especially using digital cameras nowadays, it definitely helps take some of that digital edge off. I don't know. I think with film, I think atmosphere, especially indoors, is like the biggest thing you're trying to achieve and the hardest thing to get. And filling out the air with those like molecules of steam or haze really does make it so that way it fills out nicely. And I know,
Yeah.
I love it. I
It
definitely
gives the
am gonna
light
find,
something
a
to
good-
like reflect off of, just in space, not necessarily like having to fill the room, or it could be an completely empty area, and then just like adding a little haze will add that like texture and like give it that 3D feel and effect.
I'm always trying to soften my digital look, as you know.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things where like we're like all about like the resolution and like getting detail and stuff like that. But like you kind of want to, obviously you want sharp focus, but you don't want it to be too sharp. You want it to be because in real life, I don't think honestly our eyes even see things in like super crisp sharpness. It's like especially if you're like me, who's nearsighted. I have a little bit of a, I see things with a little bit of a bokeh anyway.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like naturally you don't see things super sharp and super detailed anyway. As you're talking to somebody at a normal distance, you're not like seeing their pores and that sort of thing, right? So I think it's like kind of like going after like emulating. Not necessarily real life. Obviously, moody things can also have like a nice softness and that sort of thing. But like, just kind of like the over sharpness, and like we've gotten to that point where like all of our sensors are usually overly sharp, so it's like we're adding these things in front of the lens to kind of help with that. But
Yeah, I think it's also a matter of too, like what we're used to seeing in the art form is
Right.
is a softer look on people's faces, and film had this way of making people's skin kind of look softer, longer, and like movie stars are able to look more ethereal on film. It was just, but now it's like I've heard like of actors on like podcasts and say or interviews talking about like, oh man, don't you miss the days of 16 millimeter where everything was so beautiful, and
Yeah.
it's like, and I see it. And maybe I see it more just because of YouTube and just like reviewing reviews of lenses and things that I might be looking at. But I definitely try to soften up my look. I got my OLPF on there now. Well, that's not what the main focus of what that filter is for, but part of the reason why I got it, and also rocking the Opaline filter that I've been talking to you about for months now, and I love it. Maintains nice contrast, but it definitely adds a little softness. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but I really think it adds a twinkle to one's eye. So
I
pretty
really am
about
excited to
that.
get the footage now in the edit so that I can see, because Riverside, it gives you like a little you're like in like a little
Yeah.
portrait mode kind of thing. So I'm excited to get the footage and see it on my 4K monitor here. But yes, definitely. I was interested when you were talking about getting those filters, how they're working out for you.
Yeah, I'm enjoying them. The Kalari is really interesting. Having it in like above the sensor, I really
Yeah.
do enjoy that a lot. I don't know if I mounted it just right. I feel like the lens is a little tight on there now, which
Okay.
everything's working fine, so it's no big deal. If anything, it's kind of like nice because there's like zero play whatsoever. But yeah, that I wonder if I could have gotten it a little bit better. But yeah, it was definitely easy to put on. But the Opaline, I'm really enjoying a lot. It's a threaded one, so I have that threaded between my lens and my step up filter to my magnetic filters, so that way I can put the magnets right over it. And because I like the softness, and like I said, I'm trying to cut that edge, and it's made to kind of maintain contrast a little better than
Yep.
your regular Pro Mist. And I've been taking photos with it at work, and I'm really, really enjoying what I'm getting from it. It's a
That's
nice
awesome. So when you're using filters, that's a good topic to talk about a little bit too. When you're talking about filters, or when you use filters, so you said you have the Opaline filter, then your step up to the magnetic filters, like for VND, I imagine, and other types of filters, right? So What do
Yeah.
you do? Do you have to like unscrew? You have to unscrew the opaline to get it off of a lens if you're going to be changing lenses, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could get a few of them. I'm definitely not going to do that because I try to save some money.
Of course.
But yeah, so I have my setup that I have for most of my smaller lenses. My only bigger size thread that I have is my 70 to 300, which I think is a 77. So I have a thread that goes from 67 to 77 that really goes for across the board from my 18, 35, 85, and 28 to 70. So I kind of think of it as like my master appliance or a master filter that I screw onto all of them for my Joey look, so to speak. Depending on like what I'm doing. If I'm working on a film or something where that's not the look somebody wants to go for, obviously I'll adjust. But I just to kind of for my photos and my videos, I want to try to create something that people recognize, and I've been told actually that people recognize my stuff for being a bit softer. I'm like, oh god, I'm hoping crushing those blacks enough, but it's not
right.
But I do. That's what I'm kind of going for. So
Well, it's good that your
I guess.
people are telling you that you have a look. That's what we all strive for, is to be like, have our own voice out by showing the images and that sort of thing. So that's awesome. Yeah, because I was curious too, because I use a lot of times I have this H&F filter system that basically it's like one of those things that like kind of screws, and you can adjust it. It's between 67 and 82 is like the distance, and then if I use like smaller lenses like this, my RFs, I'll use the step up rings. But then basically you just kind of can like shift it on, and it just snaps in, and then you could put like filters in, and then a matte box at the end. So it has a variable ND.
Yeah.
I think it's a 1 to 5 stop ND, and then
nice.
I could put in like it has a 1/8 black pro mist that can slot in, and then the matte box. So
That's
I've been
great.
using that, and it all hangs off the lens, and it's because I used to do screw on filters, and it was always like, and then like I'm just trying to see like for magnetic filters, like what you were using, because. Yeah, it's like that's one of the troubles now that I've gotten rid of all my cameras that have a variable ND filter ND filters built in. It's like I'm like kind of struggling a little bit, but
I've definitely enjoyed. I also keep the step up between the magnetic filters that I have and the Opaline and my other stuff that I have just connected constantly is a step up ring to a matte box, so that way I can also just shift that directly on there. But I still kind of prefer the magnetic ones just because it's a quick slap in, slap out kind of thing, as opposed to the bigger ones. I do have a couple of bigger like matte box square ND filters, which I do like, but I'm more prone to getting it smudged with my fingers as I'm putting it in and out. So the other one I could just get it on and off much easier. And I was apprehensive about magnets, the magnetic filters, in the first place, because I was so used to variable ND that I wasn't sure how I'd feel about having such like, oh, you are here, here, and here, and that's all you got to work with. But it's kind of made me like, I don't know, it's kind of like, it reminds me of like using primes versus a zoom. It kind of teaches you to like just think about it a little more, and I've definitely become more comfortable knowing like which sunlight, like, oh, I'll need this one here versus that one.
Yeah, you kind of get to a point where like, especially if you shoot the same area a lot, or you're in the same environment or in the sun, like you're like, oh, okay, I'm in this lighting, and I'm this you're able to repeat it based on, and say, okay, I only need 2 stops of ND at this point, or like I need 6, that kind of thing. Definitely.
It's actually, it's funny. That's actually, I know I don't have it listed here because I'm tired of you stealing all my good ones for our pod. But my magnetic filter is actually one of my less is mores.
Oh, great.
Because it's just, like I was saying, as opposed to like using the matte box or having a variable ND, I just find like having the magnets, like just being able to snap it directly onto it. So I unthreaded it for you so that way you can see what it's like in live action there.
That's awesome.
But
so do you have like a receiver
case
on all of your lenses, and then you can just like magnet to each one, or is it like...
I do have that. I have the magnet attached to every one of my lenses already. So that's already like going on and off. So that way I can just get all of them. That's why I also stepped up to 77, so I can just throw the one for my 7300 onto all of them.
Perfect.
What I
Yep.
regret, actually, though, this is the case that it came with. Really like it a lot. Nice
Yeah,
and
yeah.
organized. I got all of my NDs. I got
Nice.
a Pro Mist in there that I really don't use anymore now that the open line. But what's really neat is they have a stepped up version. I forget what the stepped up version of it's the case magnetic NDs, but they have colored versions in there now, which
Oh,
is neat
cool.
because when you're looking in there, you can
Oh.
see like which one you want to use
Yes.
for any given situation.
That's great.
It's so interesting what color coding does, but I know we didn't even intro into it, but we were talking so much about these. I wanted to just dive into my first one already. Is like my first less is more gear that I love that has just done so much for me, especially in this past year and a half of having them. Is my Case magnetic ND filters. I do really desperately want to have a cinema camera with internal NDs and maybe an electronic ND that's really good. But yeah, for now, for what I do, I think these things are just wonderful. And I know I've talked about them on the pod before, but here I am talking about them again. So they
Yeah,
should
no,
really throw us a sponsorship.
Yeah, right. Throw us a little love here. Come on.
Come on, guys. I love you. Love me back. I'm wearing a golden retriever on my shirt, for crying out loud.
Right.
Now that I've bombarded you with my magnetic filter talk again for a second
Yes.
podcast about our gear, tell me about something that you like to use to that's a little bit of a less is more type of gear piece.
Oh, thank you, Joey. I appreciate that. So, what I think is my first one here is something that really isn't. It's like something that's so necessary but something so overlooked. I feel like in this sphere, it's just starting to get a lot of traction. I've actually seen a lot of folks like on Instagram and stuff, bringing it up. But it's my my color checker. I got this one. It's the X-Rite videography photo checker. It's got. This is the gray card and focus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it tells you that you're in focus. I actually can see on my monitor that I'm in focus.
Oh yeah.
And then here's the colors, right? And this will actually be good for me in editing if I needed to adjust the colors. And so for those that don't know what you do when you're right, say you have an interview set up and your lighting is all set, right? You put this guy in front and you kind of move it around, make sure that everything, none of the chips are covered, and you kind of move it around the lighting. And what you do in post is you grab a frame of it at the correct lighting that you need, and then you can make a mask around this is for the luminance, and then you do that and you get the correct, make sure all your grays and your black and white are sitting at the right levels. Then you do the same thing with the chips here, the color chips, and you just kind of make sure that all the colors, you use a vector scope and you make sure all the colors are hitting the right spots. These are all different skin tones. Here, these are just other colors, and then different shades of gray and black and white. So this is such an thought of thing. I feel like a lot of folks, when they're, especially if you're in a run and gun set, I feel like it's such a thing that's overlooked a lot, but it's so necessary, especially if we all like using log footage. It's like, take advantage of all that dynamic range and really make sure you dial your colors in, I think. And obviously shooting at a codec that can support it,
I could start using mine for the pod if you'd like. Sorry, I haven't. And,
I'll see how well mine works here in my setup. Make sure my colors are good, and then we'll both have perfect colors. But yeah, Joey, how often do you use your color checker? I should ask you.
Not enough. I used to use it more for what's it called? White balance, like just getting white balance. But I found that using the gray card within the wallet for that is just a bit too small in most situations. So for checking, fantastic. But for a situation where you're trying to get white balance in the first place, I don't find it my favorite thing to use. And it's actually, I won't dive into it yet, but it brings me to my second thing that I've chosen, because I did see your color checker on there, but I do want to start utilizing it more. I do it for like certain shoots, like Cup of Joe, I'll use it. I just find myself because I work for the school and most of my situations are really like, it's like changing every single hour of the day, depending on what's going on. So
Right.
there's not a lot of situations where I'm in the same spot for too long that I have the opportunity to use it or to even edit with it in post. A lot of my stuff has to be kind of pushed out super
It's like
fast.
the same day
but-
turnaround. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But it's a great tool. I totally agree. It's very underutilized. A bit more expensive than one would think for what it is.
I agree,
So just
but
be prepared to spend like $100 if you're going for
Yeah.
it is like $100, right?
But like once you spend that $100, it's in your kit. I just throw it right in my camera bag. You know, it's just always there, and I can kind of rely on the fact that, and it's obviously like you were alluding to, getting white balance in camera is so integral anyway. So like it's not like, oh, I could just set my white balance to whatever and then just put the card up and be able to fix everything in post. That's not how it works. But it makes it so that if you have subtle color shifts in your image, it makes sure that, you know, and again, you want it to catch all the lighting on purpose, because if you're lighting, you know, if you're in control of the lighting and you do all the lighting and you know, like, oh, they're all at, you know, 56K, but then just if there's any slight color shifts between the lights, like, you know, you have, you know, an Amaran light and an aperture light and all these different brands of lights, sometimes they have a different color rating and stuff like that. So just making sure you have that little bit that, and again, it just adds that to that professionalism of you're going to get accurate colors to then have a base to do what you want with it in post as far as grading and adding a little bit of your own flavor to the final edit.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't always have full control over the lights in there too. Like a lot of situations I'm in, I have to keep the building's room lights on because, you know, it's a classroom. So I'm like, I understand, you got to teach. So, but you know,
if you're popping a
dealing
light
with,
in
like,
there and it's a different color temperature, even a little different color temperature,
Exactly.
having the color checker, even honestly, even if it's like, you know, this person's getting ready or something, you just kind of like flash it in there, do a little dance with it.
Yep.
and then and then just
I'm going to dance with it more now that we've had this conversation.
do a little cha-cha. But yeah, just kind of, again, getting that one frame I think is so important. Just making sure it's on there long enough for you to have a frame of reference. So it doesn't need to be kind of in there and like set. You don't just want to flash it too much and there's all this motion blur, you can't use it, but make sure you can get it nice and in focus. And again, also for checking focus, you know, obviously it's obviously we have autofocus nowadays, so it's like we're like, oh, you know, and we, you know, but focus tools are important too. We use our peaking a lot, and other focus tools on the Canon. I like the it has the square with the two triangles that kind of line up. I love that feature on the Canon cameras. But you know, making sure that we have crisp and tack sharp focus too. If you have the time and you're using manual lenses too, especially, that feature is great as well. So that's my less is more item, my first one on my list.
Well, I'm definitely going to even think about it. I definitely don't use it enough for focus. So I'm going to definitely be pulling that out more often, because now I think about how many times I've asked actors to show me their eyes to get that crisp peeking over there. Yep. I won't spend too much time on my second one. It is very, very similar. And it was because I saw yours written on the list, but it's just a simple gray card. Which I like a little bit better for just a little bit larger, easier to catch, having your subject hold this, easy to put away, super cheap too. Like I was saying with the Calibrite, those things should be at least $100. This I think was like 25 tops. And I just like that it's easy to capture focus on. It's a really nice tool for
you got your 18% gray. You got your it's got a little crosshair on it for the focus, like you said. So you make sure that you just put it in front of their face, and you got good color. And you can actually just do the auto white to that, right? You just kind of fill the frame with that, and then hit the white balance, the auto white on that, and you get your white balance. So.
It's great. I really enjoy it. And another piece for white balancing, which is, I know it's technically two things, but I really do enjoy this, is an app called CineTemp. I'm not sure how much you'll be able to see it on there, but it's just kind of gives you a rough reading of what the color temperature is. So if you're trying to get white balance using the capture method and it's not quite doing it for you, you can pull this thing out and get a pretty decent reading of what you're doing. I like to kind of wave it around the room based on where I'm pointing the camera. Not perfect in that sense, because you do really want to take into account, like, if you change direction, the temperature might be slightly different, but it's a really nice, easy way to get a good reading and get a semi-accurate. There's definitely better apps out there than that one, but it gives you a pretty decent rating of what the colors are in there looking like.
That's great, Joey. I mean, I'm sure you saw on my list, I have a couple apps to talk about later on, but if you could just, actually have never heard of Color Temp. So for our audience and for my own knowledge, is it a free app or do you have to like pay for it?
This is I think a $5 app. So I need to pay for it enough to feel like it's justified and it's actually going to be something useful to me. So it just goes to show it's like not giving something away for free doesn't necessarily make people believe in it. But yeah, so it was $5. It's a pretty good ratings, which is the first thing I looked at. But there are definitely better ones out there. It's called CineTemp, but really a fun little app, very quick and easy to use. And you can also take images of it too. So it's like you capture photos of that color temperature in the space. So say you're getting away from your stuff for a little bit and you have to like get a tripod set up in another section of the room, and you can just go back to your space, go look at the photo, okay, I need to set this to this, and nice and easy.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely. So it's anything that just kind of helps out with that, not just relying on obviously your eye or the LCD screen, just making sure that you have a white balance that's, very, and like you said, it's not exact. And then you said there are better apps, and even using a color, a colored reader, a specific, like you can obviously buy color readers that will give you a white balance reading that's very accurate, and because those cost hundreds of dollars, they're tools that are designed for that. But for having something in your pocket that you can just whip out and say, okay, we're around 5K, right, or whatever, 4,500 or whatever white balance we're at, and that gives you a starting point. You can say, I'm going to use my daylight lights, and it'll be a little bit on the orange side, but that'll be okay in the background, kind of thing. Like you can kind of make those decisions, right? So that's definitely a great tool. I agree.
What do you have on for your second one over here? Tell me about your apps.
So my next, so this is actually a little bit of context. I am, really into like the idea of being able to create my own cinema and video production tools using a 3D printer. I just recently got the Bamboo P2S.
What?
So I can go on a little bit of a tangent about that, but that's not the thing that makes
cool.
That's not less is more. That's almost $1,000 3D printer, but the less is more thing that I will talk about are lens and camera tags that I found. I will include a picture of the person on the makerspace that these were not my design, but basically they're these little the lens tags here that I put them on the bottom of my lens cap so that when they're in the bag, I can see this is the 24. And this is like you can do this with stickers. You don't have to have like a actual little plate. But the one that I am going to do, because I already put, obviously I put these on with Velcro. I'm going to also do the same thing with cameras. So this is like for A cam and for B cam, having just like being able to visually see like, our cameras are buried in gear, and a lot of times they all start looking the same, right? And usually there are like, my C50 might have like a longer lens on it or something, and then the R5C has a different lens on it, and it's like, okay, I could tell visually that way. But even just to have that little card that says A or that says B and that says this or that, or if there's just being able to say like this is the camera that I mean to be, bam, it's a visual, it's a quick visual that can be there to identify it. So just having and again, so for storage and packing and traveling, but also for on set, seeing it and saying, oh, that's A cam, and I know that that's the wide shot or the main camera, and then B cam, oh, that's the B cam, right?
Yeah. That's awesome. I think any kind of labeling that we could have on set is great. We have so much crap. So much of it's black and very similar fonts in the text that they have on them. And yeah, that's brilliant. I like that a lot. I think that's a really good idea.
And the good thing is too, I could just print out whatever I need for these. So like I have a 16 that I haven't printed the thing yet for. I still have the file for this. I could just change the little chip to say 16, and then I just print that out and I could put it right on my 16 mil lens and I'm good. So
we should print something cool.
I'm going down a rabbit hole, man.
What's on your agenda to print?
Oh boy. There's a lot of like storage stuff. So like a lot of drawers, like little desk drawers that can hold things like little screws and SD cards and other things that are like really, my desk is really, as you guys saw in the technical difficulties video that Joey and I, or the podcast that we did, my desk is not the most organized. So, cable clips and other little things that you're like, oh, that's going to be helpful, and it makes it worth it. So I mean, inadvertently honorable mention, the 3D printer is now going to be one of those more is more things. It's going to help me organize.
But is it though? You're getting things that can be less is more because of it.
Right.
So in a really roundabout way, in a really over the top roundabout way, you're doing less.
You're right,
Mike.
All I have to do is hit print on something and I have it in a couple hours, so that itself is less is more, because then I don't have to wait for Amazon, I don't have to wait for shipping or anything. I can just
and it's less
it's on
money.
the makerspace. These people are like so brilliant, the way that they are able to design these things, and they're like they put so much effort into the design. I really give a lot of kudos to folks that get on the makerspace and they put these things up and they're like, I hope you use my model and I hope you enjoy it. It's really like, and you can find everything on there. So like I said, there's some like other like crazy things that may be appearing in my set soon enough. So we'll have to see about that. I may make some fun, movie props or whatever. I found a couple of cool ones, so I might be hiding them in my set in future pod episodes. But yeah, definitely. I'm going to try and use it for more organizational stuff first, and then get into the crazy other stuff. There's also things like this, which this could be a fun little thing to talk about too. I don't know if
What is that? You're actually going weirdly blurry on me right now.
Oh, it's this is basically it's from the DSLR video shooter. He made like an SMB SM7B style housing for handheld mics, like
oh, that's cool.
Like this. This is actually an SM57, but the SM58, these kind of microphones can fit inside of this, and I put it onto a like one of those collapsible tripods, and then this is a Sennheiser wireless transmitter, so be a little bit of a crazy wireless setup that I don't know if we were going to be going on a live pod expedition or something. You and I could have two of these and be
that's
like,
cool.
And this was a prototype that I made, but
that's so great.
It's all 3D printed. All the red stuff there, and then this is
that's incredible.
Isn't that cool?
That's so neat. I love it.
Yeah,
you're so impressive.
Yeah, it's again, credit is not mine. It's for the DSLR video shooter. He has it up on his Camera Foundry website, and the files for that were only $1, so I just grabbed that and told my printer to do it, and it did it.
I want to get into 3D printing just like for that. Well, I gotta get a bigger apartment for a place to put it, but I definitely do want to get into that. I think it's so neat, and I also kind of want to do it before those designs become much more expensive, or they figure out like that we all are enjoying it and having this free space where we can all learn from each other, and then take another one away from us. That's cool. That's so neat. I can't wait to see the things that you make with that.
I know, and again, it's to optimize things on set and to make organization more of the forefront. I feel like there's so many times where you find something organizationally online, and you're like, oh well, I can't spend this money on that, and then you have to wait for shipping and stuff. Yes, the filament costs me money, and the electricity to power the printer costs me money, but being able to say, oh, this will be done in like 5 hours if I just start it now, and then I'm working or have it go overnight, and it's done when I wake up. That's like amazing. And then it's like I have this piece. Again, if you're building something that's a bigger storage, it's going to take a little bit longer. You're going to have to do it over the course of a couple of days. But at least you're building it and saying, okay, stuff's starting to go in here, and but it's cool. You can actually then build things and just like slot things. There's people make these things, and you're just like, yeah, it's this gigantic thing, but you print each piece and then it comes together. It's amazing, really.
It's really cool. It's really neat.
So that was my second one. That whole thing was my second one.
No worries. It was very exciting. Mine is, I'm pretty sure I've spoken about this piece before at some point, but something I think is really helpful in being less is more that maybe not is talked about for sets is a really good quality bag that is captures kind of like a bunch of gear all in one. And this one I saw from Justin Porter Media on Instagram. It's the DeWalt
yes
bag. It's meant for tools.
Yes.
But for a cinema camera, for my cinema setup with my V-mount battery, everything hooked up onto it, goes directly into this thing, really fits really nicely, gets all the accessories, has great spaces for all these extra accessories. I have audio compartments, I have small lighting compartments, batteries, different cinema attachment, different things for like, different things for my gimbal, different things for my shoulder rig, and something that I really feel that can get really complicated is coming with all these different small bags, and it's easy to lose stuff. And for me, it's much easier to have everything. For a cinema type shoot, I can go with just this bag, and I know for a fact where everything is. I know I can count on it. I know I have backup stuff, and I feel comfortable knowing it. So while it is a big chunky boy, having one dedicated bag to the shoot it really puts your mind at ease. And when you really know that bag inside out, it really becomes like such an important piece of gear that's part of your arsenal. So I love that bag. It's one of the best purchases I've ever made, which is so ironic because it has nothing to do with camera stuff. It is meant to be a tool bag, and because of that, it's actually a bit cheaper than a lot of camera hard cases you find. It's not a hard case, but that thing you could take onto a plane with you, and you could pull the camera right out of the bag off the plane and be able to film.
That's amazing.
in a cine body. So
because that's carry-on size, right? That
sure is.
Beautiful. That's like you
Not
said.
that I've had the chance to use it, but yeah, it's
but you're ready to go.
It's really great.
Yeah, if you're going with like one camera and you're the operator for and that's you need everything in there. That's all you need, and that's kind of like so. That's definitely undervalued because I think that cases in themselves have become a cottage industry in our industry. Is like getting all different kinds of cases for all different kinds of things. And I do like that. Like I do have cases for my audio, my audio stuff, and I have cases for my lighting and all that stuff. But yeah, I've actually gotten into that too, where like I have a think tank case that is specifically made to have two cameras set up, and they kind of like they slot in and you just strap them down in this. It's a gigantic bag, but
Yeah,
it is for the shoots where it's like I have a 2-camera shoot. I don't have time to be loading in all this gear. It's a bag. It's actually a rolling case. That's great. And it rolls and all that stuff. But it's for when I have like, if I'm doing a graduation filming or something like that, where I need to be into a place and I don't have a lot of space. That one bag has both cameras in it and has all the peripherals for the cameras. Like you said, V-mount batteries and audio and all that stuff is just in there with it. I don't have to worry about. Then I literally, I think I just have the tripods for the two of them, and then that's it, So that's that kind of stuff.
I just find that there's so much that can go wrong on the set, no matter what. That when you're getting your setup and getting your cinema body built can be such a pain in the ass. So to have it at home, just be ready to go, pull out of the bag, and then put it on the tripod, and then you realize I still have a lot more to go. It's just it's very relaxing. It's really nice to be able to have it on there, and also to not be buckling it into the front seat and hoping for the best, because it's like, oh, it's set up, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's good enough for humans, it's good enough for the camera.
Right. Have you a small side note, have you seen it's like a little car seat for a camera? It's like basically if you have like a dovetail on your cinema rig, it's a little like car seat thing that goes into the car seat snaps that are inside of your seat, and you can slot your camera in there and then put the buckle on, and then it's just another way to be able to drive with the camera set up and ready to go. I saw it on Instagram and I was like, holy shit. If I find it on Instagram again, I'll put it up here in the pod, but I was like, what the hell?
Tell me it's like a baby commercial too, where somebody's like it's two parents with like a swaddled camera, and it's like you put it in there, and then all you see is the lens sticking out. Okay,
Joey, I think we're making that short.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm ready.
We're like,
we could even parents. We can use your kids for the start of it, so that way people assume that it's one of them that you.
Yeah, and then as they're getting into the car seat, it's a camera going. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah, I love that. Anyway, so if you guys are interested in that, let us know in the comments. But so I will jump into my final suggestion for less is more. Is actually 2 apps that were both I'll shout out the person that I got them from, Matt Porwall. He's a award-winning cinematographer who's done some amazing cinema verite work, and I'll put up his YouTube channels of but he has this series talking about lighting and getting your lighting setup dialed in, and he talks about two apps that kind of you get your gear in, and you don't even have a camera up yet. Like, what are you using? And I actually did buy both of them because of this. They're both paid apps, but they are both worth it in droves. One is called Sunseeker, which basically is an app that can show you where the sun's positioning is based on the day, and it actually has a 3D view, so it kind of does the augmented reality where it'll put the line of the sun on your phone's camera, so you can say, okay, point your phone around, where's the sun right now, and where's it going to be in an hour or two, right? Like, it'll tell you the trajectory, so okay, I'm going to lose this light, or it's going to start coming into my shot, and I don't want that, right? So maybe I'll block out a window because of that, whatever. So that's the first app, and I think that app, again, I'll correct myself with an on-screen graphic if it's wrong, but I think this app was $10. So again, I think, especially if you're in a place like we were talking about earlier, Joey, if you're in a place that doesn't have the ability to control the lighting, this is great to be like, I know where the sun's going to be, and I'm setting up these really quick interviews. I know where the sun's going to be when I'm doing these interviews, right? So that's great for Sunseeker. And then there's this other app called Artemis, and I think this one was a little more money. I think it was like 20 or 24, but this app is great especially if you have cameras that I don't know if it supports a lot of mirrorless bodies, but I know it supports like Reds. It does have Canon and Panasonic, so I think it does have like a lot of choices, but it definitely leans more into like ARRI and like those bigger cameras, the Sonys and stuff like that. You can basically pick your camera and your lenses. So also, again, it's in the cinema space, so it has a lot of cinema. It does have my Athenas, the Nisi Athenas, but it also has like Angenieux lenses and other cinema lenses. But basically, you choose your body and lens, and then the camera will give you the frame of what your field of view is going to be. So say you're like, I know I'm going to plant the camera here, and this is where we're going to set the interview up. What's my field of view going to be with this the full frame camera that's this body with sensor with this lens, and pairing and see how it looks and frame it up and say, this is a good shot, and or we're going to get too much of this and that in there, right? Let's set the camera back or whatever. And it again,
it gives you notes.
Well, it shows you it'll use, and again, gotcha. It uses the phone's camera to show you literally what you're going to see. And again, I think similarly to your white balance app, the Color Right app, but it'll give you it to a degree, and then you can obviously set the camera up and confirm. But it really helps you without having to set the whole camera up, to rig the whole camera out just to see, where you get your starting point, and then you can set the camera up and be like, oh, I actually want to move it a little bit, or that kind of thing. So these apps are for, I would say, where you have moderate setup time, because the Sunseeker is actually good. Pretty much any any setup is just seeing where the sun is. That's just great. Run and gun or setup time, but I think they will save you, like, honestly, so much time if you at least know where your lighting is going to be, and then what your camera view is going to be before you even set anything up.
Yeah, that's really clever, because I was actually looking into those ones that you see DPs on major motion picture sets using, that they just hook it up to their eye. Turns out that thing's also very expensive.
Yes, the director's viewfinder, yeah.
But I just thought it'd be cool. But that's neat. I gotta check that out. I thought maybe in this day and age of AI, I was thinking, I immediately went to like, oh, I could see it just spitting out like, don't do that, like Pokemon Snap. Like, this would be a better shot if you did this, and this.
Right.
But I'm kind of glad it doesn't, because you know how I feel about AI and all of its many capabilities.
Yeah,
but,
this is
cool.
good. It'll tell you, like, it won't tell you. It'll show you visually what your field of view is going to be. So I think that that's really important. And like I said before, anything that kind of just will frame it for you, like, help you frame it without having to set gear up. Because
does it simulate compression with people, like, or your subject to your background too, or is it just?
Yeah, I think it's just for
you the
framing.
crop?
I haven't seen it. It literally, because it's the phone's camera, so it'll even, like, if it has to do an 85 or a 135 or something, it'll be like digital. It'll look like digital, like, craziness because of like the phone's camera being pushed in that much, because it's showing you like as if it, but the thing is it's calculated to the camera's body and the sensor. So if you're on a full frame sensor versus an APS-C sensor, it'll actually do that. And not even just an APS-C sensor, but like Red's Super 35 sensor, right? Or that difference between that and like the Canon C70, which also has a Super 35 sensor, but they're different sensors. So it'll say like, because the Komodo sensor is like 17:9 or something, and like versus 16:9. So like, it calculates all that stuff into it, because that's why you select the lenses in the camera and you say, this is what I'm going to be using, and it'll give you that, and it's going to be at about this height, or like obviously you put it at the height you want it, and say, okay, this is about where the sensor's focal, the focal plane is going to be, and then it'll be able to say, this is what your image is going to approximately look like.
That's awesome. And how much did you say that one was? Was that 20?
I think around 20, 24 or something like that. But again,
I might look into that one.
Yeah, I would, but I would caution you and anybody else thinking about it. If you do want to get it, make sure that it has at least the cameras and lenses you want to use, which I could, they probably do have a list somewhere, but so I'll look that up and even put it in the show notes, and that sort of thing, because that is important. You don't want to buy this app with your money and be like, oh shit, I can't use it because it doesn't support my camera. So I'll do some digging and find that. But because I use the Komodo a lot for like the shoots I would use that for. So it supports the Red Komodo, and then like I said, I have my Nisi Athena. So usually I'm using that pairing in the Artemis app. But yeah, it's a great app.
I'm willing to bet it has it, because if it has Panasonic at all, they have very few cinema cameras that they've made in the past decades. So I imagine they must have some of the other like mirrorless bodies in there as well. But I'll check it out regardless. It sounds really neat.
Yeah, it's a cool app. And again, so like our phones are such an underutilized. I think also generally our phones are such an underutilized tool in filmmaking. We think like, oh well, we have our camera gear that we use separately, right? But any way that you can use your phone as like from the Notes app, on the iPhone, the Notes app, to like these paid apps, I think that there's so many ways that your phone can be, such an invaluable tool on set as well.
Yep, I agree. Awesome. As much as I also hate those, but I definitely do agree that, it's also just a great filmmaking tool. I always tell the students that I work with, it's like, you have like a great camera in your back pocket. You can make movies anytime you want. So right. I definitely agree with that. I definitely think we should be thinking about these things, these endless these things with the endless possibilities in our pockets. We should be definitely utilizing them a little bit more for what we're actually doing here.
Exactly. So, Joey, I think we've talked a lot about the less is more, and we're happy also to hear a lot about what you guys use on set. If you are also videographers and you watch our show, tell us about the kinds of stuff that you guys use. Because we're always learning, right? Like I think that's what another thing I want to make sure that our podcast does is it kind of fosters a community of people that give each other ideas. Because I like I said, I credit a lot of other people, a lot of other great videographers, filmmakers, cinematographers with these ideas that I get, including yourself, Joey. I get a lot of ideas from you, and I hope you get some ideas from me. So,
I just took notes literally on the stuff you're giving me today.
I did see that. I saw the notebook come out, so that was good.
We should also tag the people that we did. I think you and I both had one that we've specifically cited a creator that we've got influence from, and that like mine with the bag that was past I think a year ago. So you could be well into your career of filmmaking, photography, whatever it is, and find those secret niche items that you didn't really realize was there. So definitely let us know what you're thinking. As always, remember to like, subscribe, and comment to add to the conversation on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, that's great, but don't you want to see our faces too? I think it's worth it.
Thank you guys for listening to the Capture Scratch podcast and watching us. We love that you guys watch us here on YouTube or on Spotify, however you watch us. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, and subscribe, and share your thoughts on today's topic. Really let us know what is your less is more item, and we are really interested to see what you guys come up with. Stay tuned for next week's episode where we're going to talk about travel. How do you travel with gear, and what's the kind of stuff that you do when you travel. But until then, take care, watch movies, and always check your capture trash.